Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? My name is John, I got options, and today we need to talk about one stock set to power OpenAI's ad business. So, there's one AI stock positioned directly in the middle of one of the biggest future markets in AI, conversational advertising. The company is Zeta Global, and what makes this setup so interesting is this is not some hyper expensive AI hype stock trading at 20 times sales. No, Zeta trades around 2.5 times forward sales and 18.9 times forward earnings. Now, this is while analysts are projecting 15 to 17% forward revenue growth for the next couple years and roughly 25 to 30% EPS growth. So the valuation already looks relatively reasonable compared to many AI names. But the real story is what happens if OpenAI turns ChatGPT into a massive advertising and commerce platform. So, why OpenAI ads could become massive? Think about how people already use ChatGPT. They ask it what to buy, where to travel, what software to use, which laptop is best, which stocks to research, where to eat. That's incredibly valuable intent data. Historically, intent equals advertising money. Google built $1 trillion business around search intent. Meta optimized social engagement. Amazon monetized shopping behavior. Now OpenAI may eventually monetize conversational intent. Imagine asking ChatGPT, what's the best camera for YouTube under $2,000? And eventually getting sponsored recommendations, integrated checkout, conversational shopping, AI-driven product placement. You get what I'm saying. That could become an enormous advertising ecosystem. And if OpenAI builds that ecosystem, they'll need infrastructure underneath it. That's where Zeta enters the picture. So, what Zeta actually does. Zeta is essentially an AI-powered marketing and consumer data platform. But the key differentiator is their massive identity and behavioral data engine. Zeta has data tied to more than 240 million US adults according to their company materials. And importantly, this is not just random anonymous cookie data. The company focuses heavily on deterministic identity resolution. This is emails, logins, browsing behavior, purchase intent, location data, transaction signals, consumer engagement patterns. Zeta calls this its super graph. The company says it can resolve over 40% of autonomous web traffic into persistent Zeta IDs. That's a huge deal in advertising because the world is moving away from traditional third-party cookies, and companies that actually own first-party identity relationships become much more valuable. So when you hear people say Zeta owns the data layer, what they really mean is Zeta has spent years building one of the largest consumer identity and intent graphs in the industry. That's their moat. The OpenAI connection. Recently, Zeta announced a strategic partnership with OpenAI centered around Athena. Athena is basically an AI marketing agent powered by OpenAI models. Instead of marketers manually building campaigns, they can simply ask Athena conversational questions. That's a massive shift because advertising software starts becoming autonomous. And if ChatGPT eventually becomes a giant commercial platform, then companies like Zeta could help power targeting, personalization, campaign optimization, attribution, audience segmentation, and ad performance analytics. In other words, Zeta may already have exactly the kind of infrastructure OpenAI would need to scale conversational advertising. This is where the bull thesis gets interesting. Zeta, right now, is mostly valued like a traditional ad tech software company. But what happens if conversational AI becomes the next internet platform? Historically, Google owned search, Meta owned social, Amazon owned commerce. But AI agents may eventually own decision making, meaning instead of searching websites manually, you simply ask AI what to do, what you want, where to go. And if OpenAI controls that layer, the monetization opportunity could be gigantic. Zeta could become an infrastructure layer for AI advertising, a targeting engine for conversational commerce, or even part of the operating system behind AI native marketing. And remember, Zeta already has the consumer identity graph, the behavioral data, the AI marketing tools, and now the OpenAI relationship. That combination is what makes this story so compelling. Now, the possible upside. A lot of this is still very speculative. The exact economics between OpenAI and Zeta are not publicly disclosed, but we could have SaaS revenue expansion, usage-based AI pricing, enterprise AI marketing workflows, platform fees, campaign optimization fees, or exposure to OpenAI's future advertising growth. And if OpenAI eventually builds a multi-billion-dollar ad business, companies sitting inside that ecosystem could benefit massively, especially companies already holding enormous consumer intent data sets. So now in conclusion, when I look at Zeta, what I see is a relatively inexpensive AI software stock, growing revenue in the mid to high teens, growing earnings between 25 and 30%, with one of the largest consumer identity graphs in America, and already a strategic partnership with OpenAI. And if conversational AI truly becomes the next major internet platform, Zeta may quietly become one of the biggest winners in AI advertising. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like this video, and check out my other videos. I actually made a video mentioning Zeta and a crazy option trade for that company. Not financial advice, do your own research, talk with your financial advisor. And as always, stay healthy, stay wealthy, and stay tuned for the next one.